new pitch and Travis Hall is here, but back to you as a club have trained in different places. Places like Carrick, Vickery's, Wallsfield. I trained in Wallsfield myself. I said the four bushes behind Kilmurry's always for the dressing room. And I think back in the time, we also trained below in Crookstown in the field that we all know as Kilmurry Wallsfield behind the Bradlock. And 100 years on, we could open the everything that we're doing now, we're going back to it, so that's kind of the picture that's why I'm on Crookstown. So we'll be back there again 100 years later. I'd like to welcome our sharing guest now. We have on the county board yet on next week from the Multi Board, David Secretary, Ian Kerwin, and my name. We've got a guest from the local house now around us. People from Lukestown, Canada, United, Crookstown Vintage, Kilmurry GAA, and they said that's a membership, so you're all very welcome. So maybe the decision we call in. I'll just ask the county board to next week to say the word first.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the county board, I want to congratulate Kilmurry not alone in celebrating the 100th anniversary of their first county, but again winning the county this year. I have been living in Balnora now for a long number of years, but I grew up in Macroom and had the privilege of watching Kilmurry playing most of their matches in the town, and there was always one or two clubs within Musgrave. There were always one or two clubs in Musgrave, when they came playing football, they were real footballers, men of honour, men of football, and that has continued down to the current day. There are very few clubs in the county at this time of the year when there are three adult clubs are still in competition. The junior footballers in the Munster final and under 21 and junior weeks at county semi-final. Phenomenal achievement for a club the size of Kilmurry because of the numbers that they can achieve that. And I think they're a role model for that other clubs around the place. And not alone on the field of play, but off it as well. It always has been clubs that were forward thinking. I think the purchase of the field in Crookstown was a marvellous move for the club. I think we pay big benefits in years to come. So for the future, just in particular to wish you well in your three championships, in particular in the Munster final. It will be a tremendous honour for the club to bring a Munster title back. So we are hoping and supporting the club on Sunday. So I think those are good. I just thank you and thank the club for the invite for being here. Thank you.
Now we might have in the secretary of the board say the words of
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Muslim Board, myself and Deirdre and Maya, I want to thank Peter and the Kilmurry Club for inviting us here tonight for this wonderful event. It is an honour to be celebrating 100 years of when you won your first county and to acknowledge that by winning the county again this year. You have huge success in the club at the moment with your three adult teams progressing, one in the Munster Championship, and you have your under-21s and you have your junior Bs. I want to also acknowledge your youth development below Crookstown. I'm sure it will be a huge success, but with the club growing you will need extra area for training and matches. And I suppose, for me on a personal note, I realised when I came in here tonight that I had known one person that was on that night in 2014. And I suppose it was an honour, and I didn't realise when I walked in here tonight. I lived next to the person for my youth and growing up, so that is a huge honour. Finally, for the next few weeks, Kilmurry, I want to wish you the very best of luck in all your championship games. And I suppose also The club has a Musgrave Award winner, which we're making a presentation to next Wednesday night to James O'Milan, so congratulations to James as well. Thank you.
Okay, now we have two historians of renown with us here tonight. We're very fortunate with Parish to have these with us, and they came on board for this night. So, firstly, we call on Michael Galvin. I think he's going to set the scene of the way things were locally and nationally in the early 20s, around the time we won this county. So, I think one of us for Michael, please.
Master Summaries, Reverend Michael Kelleher, Monsignor Kevin O'Callaghan, guests, ladies and gentlemen. What was the state of the country in 1924, the year of Kilmurry GAA's club's historic and much celebrated victory, we may ask? 1924 was the first year of relative peace since 1914. With the outbreak of the Great War, then the War of Independence, 1919 to 1921, and the bitter Civil War, ending in mid-1923. Though the aftershocks of internment, hunger strikes, and sporadic violence still prevailed. The new state was in a serious economic crisis, not to mention the frightening human cost of 3 wars in the space of a decade. Much of the country's infrastructure was destroyed, namely railways, bridges, mills, cinemas, newspaper offices, business firms, factories, creameries, homes, communication lines, and many ascendancy houses. William T. Cosgrave, President of the Executive Council of the Free State, and his Finance Minister, Ernest Blythe, had no doubt as to how the crisis should be tackled. Strict fiscal rectitude at all costs they saw as the only way forward for reconstruction, and also honouring heavy loan commitments to the Bank of England and the Imperial Parliament in accordance with the articles of the Anglo-Irish Treaty. By 1924, the post-war slump had taken a firm grip on the agricultural and industrial economies, so that protectionism was the principal government backing down the hatches strategy in preventing a further surge in an already serious employment crisis. The stagnation that followed would blight the coming years, exasperating the continuing hemorrhage of immigration. Poverty and immiseration then was another function of the malaise, with semi-famine conditions along the west coast, where cases of death from starvation were recorded. This plight was not a primary priority for the government, which showed little sympathy for the afflicted, indicating age-old Victorian baked-in contempt for the poor and disadvantaged. If local resources and charity could not suffice, so be it. The decision of Finance Minister Ernest Blythe in June to reduce the old age pension by £1 shilling a week was certainly no help, and this inept political small-minded blunder infamously became a stick with which Cumann Gael and Fine Gael were continuously beaten for decades to come. Sinn Féin accused Kilmurry of championing the grass cattle ranch farmers, driving people off the land to the ports, while literary figures like Paddy O'Donnell, Sean Casey, Liam O'Flaherty, Sean O'Fallon and Frank O'Connor frequently criticised the government's socio-economic policies as well as the oppressive Public Safety Act that was renewed in January. The so-called Army Mutiny in March presented a direct challenge to the government when a group of Army officers with an old IRB loyalty to the late Michael Collins, thus with strong Republican aspirations, issued a 3-point ultimatum to the Executive Council, namely, abolish the Army Council, end demobilisation, and that the Executive Council should strive to achieve a 32-county republic without delay. Following a brief episode of military drama, the tough Minister for Justice, Kevin O'Higgins, and the government moved swiftly, and the leaders of the mutiny were quickly arrested. The affair ended with a pragmatic recommendation of a committee of inquiry, following which the Minister for Defence, Richard Mulcahy, who had a certain sympathy with the mutineers, resigned in protest at the government reaction. The Gaelicisation of the new state, both culturally and linguistically, was one of the cornerstone policies of the new government, spearheaded in particular by Kevin O'Higgins, with its principal instrument being the recently instituted Censorship of Films Act. The Censorship Board, established under the Act, was chaired by the enthusiastic James Montgomery. O'Higgins viewed strict censorship as the most effective weapon against foreign corrupt influences from England and America in particular, which he regarded as the principal threats to Gaelic culture, with sleazy films and jazz music washing up on our shores from far-flung, what he called dens of decadence, like New York, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Berlin, Paris and London. Thus, in the opinion of both church and state, Ireland could do without the evils of the roaring 20s. The self-appointed model guardians of post-independent Ireland dreaded the new jazz craze as the manifestation of the primitive pagan soul of deepest dark Africa, to which the youth of Ireland would fall victim, a foreign curse akin to communistic atheism or commies under the bed of later decades. The danger with jazz, though, was, they lamented, was that it was not only under the bed, but in the bed, as boys and girls, consumed with its erotic winding and waving, not to mention its animalistic jungle intonations, would fall foul to passionate temptation. I have to draw a deep breath now after that. Worse, if that indeed was possible, was the silly nudity of Hollywood films, so that many were less inclined to say the rosary, family rosary, before bedtime when they returned home from the picture houses. Clergy condemned these so-called evils from altars all over the country, and the demonisation of the dance hall was so deeply embedded in the psyche of the people that many women were convinced they had danced with the devil. A gentleman, handsome and well dressed, until they cast their eyes to the floor to see the dreaded dark, cloven hoofs, betraying his demonic nature. Accordingly, and in line with numerous examples all over the country, Kilmurry Hall was formally cursed during a parish mission in this era, again a clear manifestation of this obsessive religious paranoia. The Free State government was not the flavour of 1924 with the Labour movement following the strikes turmoil of 1922-23. Agricultural, mill, creamery and postal workers struck for better wages and conditions in North Cork, Limerick, Waterford and Tipperary in particular, with workers' Soviets set up shades of the Russian Revolution. Government and employers reacted aggressively with guard arrests, vigilante patrols, raids and the hastily mustering of the Special Infantry Corps, a unit of the regular army, soon to be known as the White Guard, again with Russian Civil War resonance. Historically, the Irish Land Labour Association, later the Land and Labour League, represented agricultural workers and small farmers. This was strong in Kilmurry, and in the following years, most workers affiliated to the Irish Transport and General Workers' Union, a branch of the Labour Party known as the Labour Club, was formed in 1926 in Kilmurry. In the pre-Fianna Fáil years of the early 20s, there was much fluidity, even confusion across the political spectrum, with farmers and Common Again, a section of which had Republican leanings, strange to say, as well as Sinn Féin Labour. In the 1923 general election, Kilmurry formed part of the North Cork constituency. Elected included Daniel Cochrane, Republican Sinn Féin, Thomas Neil Labour and Daniel Vaughan Farmers. What explains the government's aversion to workers' demands and to social consciousness in general regarding the plight of the poor and disadvantaged? The answer seems to be an admixture of complex strands deeply ingrained in Irish society right back to the 19th century and been working through the experience of the Great War, the War of Independence and Civil War. These can be listed thus: deep-seated Victorian attitudes, the bourgeois character of the revolutionary years, the suppressed aspirations of Connolly and Lapkin, God help us, the powerful influence of a conservative, paternalistic Catholic Church, the primary importance afforded to agriculture, the paranoid fear of communism, known as the Red Scare, or communism under the bed, and the dread of socio-political instability viewed through a Civil War lens and mindset. In August 1924, in accordance with the treaty settlement, the British government agreed to pay $900,000 in compensation for the Anglo-Irish War. The Baldry Commission, principally designed by the British Prime Minister David Lloyd George to get himself out of the Ulster conundrum, win over the Irish delegation in the treaty negotiations, get the agreement over the line, and better help the medicine of partition go down, held its first meeting in December. Michael Collins in particular hoped that some or portions of the Ulster counties would be appropriated to the Free State, thus making the northern polity unviable. All nice and dandy, but woefully naive. Following strong unionist opposition and Stormont's unwillingness to cooperate, the negotiations can was kicked down the road to pragmatic ambiguity, which suited the three governments. The principal losers were the Northern Nationalists, whose most fervent aspirations were not realised now that Collins and Griffith were out of the frame. With much justification they lamented that the Free State had played a poor hand with its representative Owen McNeill, outmanoeuvred by the more wily Northern Ireland's Joseph Fisher and the equally shrewd Commission State Chairman Richard Feehan, both appointed by the British government and both of whose political sympathies strongly leaned to the Northern Prime Minister James Craig. Now you will be glad to hear that I'm coming to the close shortly. Because the cash-strapped Free State abrogated much of its social responsibilities, namely health, education, institutional care, and the like, to the powerful Catholic Church, this policy did much to colour and define Irish society and governance as inward-looking, confessional, and theocratic in the decades to come. Another defining cultural attribute of the new state was the popular attitude to the law and government institutions in general. The Garda Síochána, who had a shaky start and a near mutiny of its own, struggled to win the trust of the people against a lingering RIC cultural colonial legacy in the popular mentality, which harboured a stubborn aversion to authority following the Civil War. It was in 1924 that a monument to the late General Michael Collins, Chairman of the Provisional Government and Commander-in-Chief of the National Army, was unveiled by William T. Cosgrave, commemorating the fatal ambush in August 1922. Despite extreme weather in 1924, which resulted in poor harvests, serious crop failure, and the aforementioned serious famine conditions, the national spirit was alive and well in many respects, with the first participation as an independent nation in the Olympic Games, with Paris the host venue in 1924, where Jack B. Yates secured a silver medal in painting section, the painting section which they had at the time. Oliver St. John Gogarty of bronze for literature, and Paddy Dwyer, County Tipperary, narrowly missing out in boxing. In addition, the Free State staged its own Tailteann Games as an expression of its athletic and physical prowess, with resonances of a perceived and imagined glorious Gaelic past. Likewise, the courageous and sporting footballers of Kilmurry stepped up to the plate in the tough junior championship and did their parish proud, not least too as a healing, unifying catalyst in the wake of a bitter and hateful civil war, not knowing that even greater accolades would be achieved in little less than a decade in 1923. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks very much, Michael. Excellent for that more detailed insight. this side.
Right. The first in the front is Dennis J. Long. He was always known by my father and all his thing as Jimmy, one of 3 brothers on the team. Dennis was one of the founding members of the Kilmurry Volunteers in 1915. Later he was very prominent in the War of Independence and was arrested and interned in Warrenwood Scrubs prison in England for a period of time. After a hunger strike in prison, himself and his comrades were released. Next is his brother Patrick, known as Paddy Long, who was another prominent member of the team, who after his playing career took up the tough job as a referee. The 2 boys are next in line. Jory Hallinan, from the village, into religious life within the LaSalle order as a brother. I had the privilege of meeting him in Castleton, County Leash at the funeral of my uncle, Brother Martin Callard, in the early 80s. Next is Mark Callard, also from the village, where his family were butchers and who also branched out to Macroom and Crewe, where they are still in business. Next is Dan Long, the 3rd brother of the team, who was a noted footballer. Sadly, he died a young man in the early 1940s. Middle row, left to right, William Desmond, better known as Bill, came from Coolanock, Newstown. Like many of his neighbours, Bill got involved in the formation of the volunteers in the Newstown area. He was also an elected member of the Cork County Council in the 1930s. After retiring from farming, himself and his wife opened a shop and traded very successfully for many years. They rented out the field to the newly formed Newstown Club for many years for a nominal sum. Next is Jerome Annie from the Sarda, brother of Jackie, who I will mention later. Next is Tim Welch, a native of Kilbenane and later Pulbrick, and he was also to the former. Charlie Foley, captain from London Rule Wrestling, now Bingour East, was a legendary fullback in the team. He also had the distinction of leading the team to winning the intermediate title in 1933. Next, there with the moustache, is Jack Buffy Corbett, who was known as Jack Gaela, as his family came from the Gaela and the Lee Valley. This nickname helped to distinguish himself and his family from the many other Murphys in the area. Jack farmed and Knocknagold farm hands with his wife, Neil Horgan, and when they returned from farming, they sold to her brother, Jeremiah Horgan. The well-known Kilmurry developer, Martin Horgan, is now the owner. Next we have John Crowley, my father. He was born in the parish of Kilmurry in 1900. In 1917, his parents, John and Mary Cronin, took the brave decision to sell out and bring their family of 9 east to the promised land of Kilmurry Parish, where they bought a farm in Ballingilla just up on Tyrone. They settled very well there, and the local used to play football in the field in Kilbrennan, then Foley's, now O'Shea's. It was there he played during his early days in Ballingilla, but he played football in Kilmurry with his brothers and neighbours before that. In late 1951, John and some of his family branched out to another farm over the border in Grounds, which is the parish of Newstown. John later inherited that farm. It was a man named Jackie Murray down Louis, worked in Belmont Mills Cruistown, who initially asked him to play football for Kilmurry. This started a very long, happy and successful playing career across the 20s and 30s, including the Intermediate County in 33 and the senior games in the mid-30s, where there are a few very notable results. Next is Patrick O'Mahony, native of Moscow, and was known to be a very fit man. He was also well known in boxing circles. People might not realise that the sport of boxing was a very popular sport in this area and indeed in many parts of the country. In fact, Kilmurry GAA Club advertised what was termed a grand boxing tournament in the hall in Kilmurry on November the 30th, 1924. This tournament consisted of 5 6-round contests with 4 of the boxers from Benin and 6 from Cork. The Corkmen probably came by train on the Cork Railway for their event. The centenary of that event is tomorrow night. Though he was not king in 1933, Patrick O'Mahony was the victim of assault by one of the Bantry supporters during the Indonesia County final in Jamaica. Patrick was struck in the head with a wrench when the pistol invaded. The referee, Johnny Beckett, restarted the game and Kilmurry won on that day. Back row, left to right. John Thomas Murphy, President, was from Crossman House to Sarda. John T. was a member of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, IRB, which was a secret society of the Republican movement. He had great contact with Thomas McSweeney and Thomas McCurtain, and he invited them to a score of bowls in Ballinallaw in October 1958, where they met Dennis T. Long, who was one of the players in the front row of the Folka. They also met Pat O'Leary and others that day, which turned out to be the origin of the founding of the Kilmurry Volunteers. The game of bowling was a great cover for the volunteers in that era, as the last crowds attending gave protection, and the RSC kept a close eye on proceedings. Happily, the ancient sport is alive and well in Ballinallaw today. The week after the Easter Rising, John T. Murphy was arrested and interned in Cloncourt Camp. When the Kilmurry Club was reformed in 1919, John T. was appointed president, a position he still held in 1924. He was elected to the Cork County Council in 1920. Next is Tig Murphy Polrick. He was known to Fallon White as Tig the Captain. This came from the fact that his father Daniel was the first captain of the Kilmurry football team, and he was called Dan the Captain. Tig was an outstanding player, and like many others, he played well into the 1930s. Next we have Tom Foley, younger brother of the captain Charlie, and he was the youngest player on the team. He was born in 1905 and was a fine young man of just 19 years old at the time. Tom was also a noted cyclist, winning awards at sports meetings all over the country. He immigrated to the United States of America for a few years, but was back again to take a big part in the winning of the Indonesia County Championship in 1933. Tom Foley was a colourful character who had an eventful life, but sadly was tragically killed while crossing the road at Owens Bridge in 1989, aged 84 years. Next is Jimmy Lorden, who was also a member of the historic Aero team that won the Cork County Signal Bombing Championship in 1928. This team was an amalgamation of Kildogan and Bright Valley. After a few years, Kildogan back to their club name, and the name Aero was kept by the Owens-based Bright Valley. Jimmy Lorden played for Farron near Belgooly, where his family still live. Next we have Dan Dillon Thierry, another player who was described as a powerfully built man on the 1924 team. He was selected as captain of the 1925 Indonesia team that went all the way to the county final, but they were defeated by Mitchelstown. Dan was joined by his brother Jim on that team. In early 1926, Dan decided to immigrate to Australia, and this report appeared in the Cork Examiner at the time. On the 26th of April, at a pleasant Empirement function at Kilmurry, the club presented the gold medal to one of their stalwarts, Dan Dillon, Thierry, immigrating to Australia. Dan was a former team captain, and his comrades also presented him with a gold medal for his services in the War of Independence. This was a unique occasion that two presentations were given to a person by his peers in recognition of his contribution first to his club Kilmurry, but also as a section commander of the local committees of volunteers in the fight for Irish freedom. John Carroll Ardeneen was a farmer who played a lot of football prior to the county's success in 1924. He was at the all-college team of Canterbury in 1912 that reached the county minor final. Minor was at the age at that time. John is actually mentioned in a line of a ditty about a match in that year which says, "With Carroll just outside him, there was little cause for fear." In a report in the head dead in the court when it was stated that he was the first cousin of Conor Kelly Brown, Olympic gold medal winner in London in 1908 for wrestling. John's son Dennis, or better known as Dean, was a well-known character in that great organisation, Martin Farmer. He was a very popular person in the Leckery, Mocker, and the wider Mulberry region, and had a special talent for drama and playwriting. Next we have Jackie O'Mahony, the sergeant, brother of Joe, who was mentioned earlier. Jackie was also noted as a very good footballer, and like many of his peers, he was one of the leaders in the War of Independence. The main event in this area was the Saturday ambush in August 1920, which sadly resulted in the death of Michael Galvin Kilmurry, who was quartermaster of East Company. It was Jackie O'Mahony who succeeded in that post after the ambush. When the club was reformed in 1919, Jackie was appointed treasurer. Next in the writing is Tim O'Connor, the player who we can see the track down. It is likely he left the area shortly after that final in 1924, as he didn't feature in any subsequent teams. There was, however, a family of O'Connors in the village at that time, and it is possible that he was one of them. Next, the man with the hat there is Vice President Con Murphy, popularly known as Con Bell. He was a licensed vendor in Kilmurry, and when the club was reformed in 1919, he was appointed chairman. The new committee also included President John T. Murphy Crossman, Secretary Patrick Peg Sheehan Cooldo, Treasurer Jackie O'Mahony the Sergeant, Captain Dan Dillon Geary. Back road is between Tiger Captain and Tom Foley is Matty Murphy, and in between Tom Foley and James Thorne is Patrick Peg Sheehan. Matty Murphy was an outstanding footballer, winning a Munster senior football medal in 1928. He was also in Kilmurry team that won in the Beecher County in 1933. As well as this, Matty was a very accomplished hurler. He was part of Victoria's era team that won the county senior hurling championship in 1928. Patrick Peg Sheehan was a legendary Kilmurry man, leading every organisation in the nationalist tradition in the area. From being elected Secretary of the Reformation of the Club in 1919 to be adjutant East Company of Kilmurry Volunteers, he also had an avid interest in the local history of the greater Kilmurry area. Now we have a couple more here now to back left completely. It's Jackie Murray, who was club secretary, and he was mentioned earlier as the man that asked John Corley to play. And between Dan Dillon and John Carroll is Murty Carroll Senior, the father of the young Murters in the front row. He was a brother of Eugene Carroll, who we knew belonged to Dublin and so on. And next to the last there, but not least, next to Jackie Maney, is a man that was down in Public also, and he's known in all the books about the Bill and Law ambush and all this with Dennis Long, Dinny Diddy, stand there. He went over to America, of course, he died in America with his sister or so on there, and his remains were brought home here for burial in Kilmurry. So that's finally that now, and I hope that you're able to follow it and all this, but that's it. Okay. Thanks very much for